Pogoda? Na mnie pogoda to jedyne co działa to to, że mogę się źle czuć czy coś. To jest najgorsze u mnie z pogodą. Cześć, Jedik. Majsterkowicz. Okej. Zasięg hałasu, obrażenia przy trafieniu krytycznym. Tam modyfikację damy. Porażenie prądem. Co za mną? Dziękuję serdecznie Mikome za subka, dzięki wielkie za wsparcie, witamy w dziabongach. Dzięki serdeczne.
O jasny chuj, toż to Laseraptor.
Dzięki z Prime Gamingiem. A co do tego, kiedy VIP? Nie wiem. A co do Gotika, to wykrzyknik Gotik. Tam wszystko masz. Zastanawiam się, czy przerobić to na obrażenie elektryczne. Przetestujmy to. Mniejszy rozrzut. Majsterkowicz. No proszę. A tego mogę zmajsterkować? O matko, ile? Za cholerę tyle nie. Dobrze. Rozmontuj. Dobra. Teraz jest niebieski, tak? Dobra. Bo muszę się przygotować. Na wyprawę. Przenieść. Aha. Dobrze. Teraz tak. Właściwie, czy ja to bym chciał przenosić? Przeniesiemy to. Bo potrzebuję więcej miejsca w ekwipunku. A to jest na śmieci, to my sprzedamy, to nie jest problem raczej. Czy ja chcę to poprzenosić? Nie, zostawimy to sobie. Czy my tu coś mamy ciekawego? Dobra. Ja tutaj mam coś na... Czekajcie. Zrobimy jedną rzecz. Nie tartar, tylko na pioniera bym chciał. I zobaczcie jedną rzecz. A mianowicie... Czy może mają lepszą broń jakąś na sprzedaż czy coś? Raczej położył się i wstać nie może. Taki z niego niedźwiedź.
Ale ten czas szybko leci, szeroko uśmiechnięta twarz.
O, Thor, dziękuję serdecznie za subka. Witamy następny miesiąc w Dziabongach. Dzięki serdeczne i...
Jasny chuj, to sztolasraptor.
Dzięki, Thor. Witamy, witamy. Dziękować serdecznie, że jesteś następny miesiąc tutaj z nami. Dzięki wielkie. Teraz tak. O nie. Jedzenie. Sekundkę. Dobra. Chcę zobaczyć, czy ja czegoś przez przypadek nie sprzedałem. No, sprzedałem. Czy ja czegoś tutaj przez przypadek nie sprzedałem? Dobra. Teraz tak. Kup. To. Hełmy. Nic tu nie ma ciekawego. To kupię. Adreno. Dobra. Amunicja. Nic ciekawego nie mają. No, sporo tego jest na sprzedaż. Miałem. Troszkę się mi plecak uwolnił od ciężaru, szczerze powiedziawszy. Tak bardzo mocno bym mógł nawet powiedzieć, że mi się uwolnił plecak. No. Teraz jak mamy wyprzedani jesteśmy troszeczkę, możemy lecieć na tartar. Ratować naszego Finiasa. Czy jak on tam miał? Na tartar!
I am pleased to inform you that we have arrived at the labyrinth. Please be advised that the punishment for trespassing is execution. Please be advised that electrical storms on the surface of Tartarus make departure impossible at this time.
Okay.
Oh, speak of the devil. Captain, I am receiving a transmission from the prison's docking authority now.
Attention, unauthorized spacecraft. This is a maximum security installation. Your presence here is an explicit violation of UDL corporate policy.
Okay.
You are hereby confined to your docking platform until a ticket detailing your crimes has been filed and notarized, at which point your vessel will be seized and you will be executed.
Ludzie, co wy macie z tym nielegalnym lądowaniem?
I'm sorry, you people? Did you just cast a generalization on upstanding UDL employees? That's a fine of 200 bits.
Grzywny dostałem!
You're up to 5,708, not including the cost of your execution and the disposal of your remains, which will be assessed posthumously.
Co? Perswazja, skąd mam wiedzieć, że pod tym hełmem kryje się prawdziwy funkcjonariusz? Pokaż mi swój identyfikator biometryczny. Pewnie zabijecie stylist... Pewnie zabicie SUBSKRYBUJ przewodniczącego z powodu zgubionego identyfikatora biometrycznego. Życzę wam powodzenia. Nie wiesz, kim jestem, zakuty łbie. Prześlij mi swój identyfikator biometryczny, żebym wiedział, jak go mam zwolnić. Skoro masz mnie na... po prostu zdaję, to po co ten mandat? Zastraszanie.
Huh? Oh, yes, ma'am. Right away, ma'am. I just couldn't see you clearly before. Screen's on the fritz. Damn thing. But for the record, now that I hear you, I totally recognize you. Totally. You're, you, of course. Anyway, Tartarus Docking Authority signing off. Have a pleasant stay at Tartarus.
Transmission terminated. Biometric ID received.
Wystarczy okłamać.
Transferring data to external cartridge. How can I be of assistance?
Co robisz? Kłamiesz. Najlepsza wymówka.
Please avoid
Bierzemy Parvati Maxa. No co? Tak się złożyło. To jest tartar, tak? Nie wiem, czy zdążymy. Może się uda.
Entering the labyrinth's the easy part. Making it back out. I'm still trusting your plan on that one, Captain.
Mój plan jest prosty. Jeżeli będzie trzeba, to wszystko zabijemy i to jest mój genialny plan.
Let's look around. There's gotta be a few ways through here.
Na limicie, ale się udało, no. Wszystko najgorsze jest to, że to wszystko restricted i tylko hologramem mogę przejść. Mamy pół. O, fuck. O! Czekajcie, kupię sobie. Wiecie o tym, że nigdy za dużo amunicji, co nie? Coś ciekawego, nie ma nic. Na przypale albo wcale, no. Udało się. Tu jest zamknięte na czerwono. Aha. Fuck. Musiał tu, potem środkiem tam. Idziemy. A teraz tam. oś.
All right, MSI. I'm not one for rousing speeches, but the captain needs our help.
Are you new here? I didn't think we were hiring
A,
more staff.
co ci do tego?
Whoa, nothing. I was just
No
asking.
cóż, powiedziałeś, co miałeś powiedzieć.
Okay, all right.
Co tam się dzieje? Co tam się dzieje? Nie no. Technik MGG zabity przez rekruta spółki. What the fuck? Co tu się od Janie Pawliło? Blokuj drzwi.
Well, look who it is.
Przewodniczący Rockwell!
I'll be damned. I was prepping the studio for our announcement, and here you are as a
Oż
bonus.
ty!
I had heard you'd taken a mechanic under your wing. What's the matter, girl? Couldn't find actual employment?
The captain's treated me right. Better than any of you bored folk ever have. I'm exactly where I want to be.
And the convict, the vicar. You know, most people, once they're out of prison, don't seem keen on returning.
Oh, I would go anywhere to see you fall, sir.
When you go off and get yourself shot, try to avoid taking one to the face. I'll want it recognizable to show to my citizens.
Co to za przemówienie?
Haven't you heard? Phineas is working for us now.
Co?
It took some doing, but employing an efficient management strategy of putting our guns to his head seems to have done the trick.
Zakłamany padalec!
Oh, the look on your face. Fantastic. No, he isn't quite there yet. A bit more torture will help, I think.
Tortury,
But
no.
that's between us. As far as my adoring citizens will know, we've turned a dangerous crackpot into a working-class man. It's a miracle.
Ten szaleniec ratuje zahibernowanych kolonistów, których ty spisałeś na straty.
Oh yes, go on, wake them up, add more mouths to feed. That'll solve our starvation problems. I don't know what half-baked plans that simpleton in a lab coat has been leading you through, but it's done. It's over. Let me ask you something, Captain. Have you at any point thought about not fucking up our entire society?
I believe we could ask you the same.
I'm making actual progress towards stabilization and recovery. You're just getting in the way.
Wiesz, jak szczerze mówiąc, to o tym nie pomyślałem. Nie. Wolisz upaść na samo dno? Ja mogę tę kolonię naprawić.
If I and my people can ride it out in luxury and happiness, yes, yes, I would. I don't know if you've noticed, Captain, but Halcyon's pretty much a lost cause.
Teraz tak, robimy Bizancjum, czy w sensie robimy kłamstwo, Bizancjum się od ciebie odwróciło, to tylko kwestia czasu. Czy tak czy inaczej zmuszę twoją administrację do współpracy, zastraszanie. Poszedłbym, zastraszymy go. Dawaj!
You are a captain of action. I'll give you that. Look, I'm not an unreasonable man. If you manage to storm the castle, as it were, and make it out of here with Phineas alive, I can't exactly afford more havoc than you've already caused. Fine. If you survive, you'll need someone to sell the rest of the board on your plan.
A żebyś wiedział, bo inaczej będziesz następny na mojej liście. Czego nie za... Kusi go zabicie. Ale nie. Lustereczko, powiedz przecie. Dzień dobry. Czyli teraz nie wiem, robić wielką rozpierduchę, czy po prostu jedziemy na spokojnie? Teraz pytanie, którędy tu... Aha, to mi tą stroną dojdę tam, tak? Dobra. Żołnierz MGG kontra technik spółki. Co tu się kurde odpitala?
I believe I am ready for this.
O!
Captain, you have an uncanny talent for complicating my life. You've disrupted the balance of power. You've upset the natural order of things. You've introduced uncertainty, and there is nothing I despise more than uncertainty.
Gęba ci się po prostu nie zamyka, czy płacą ci od słowa?
Typical. Running your mouth in the middle of a crisis. It's almost as if you delight in chaos. I should have dealt with you a long time ago. You were always too dangerous to leave unchecked.
Głośne przechwałki i puste groźby.
I'm not surprised by your arrogance. You've been prancing about the
Ale to
colony
trzeba
for
zapamiętać, to
entirely
płacę
too
ci od
long,
słowa.
with no one to put you in your place. Leaving you alive was my greatest mistake, but it is a mistake I intend to correct. I have Dr. Wells in my custody. Once I've secured his cooperation, I can move forward with the program. I can repair the damage you've done. I can set things right.
Nie denerwuj mnie, Sofia, nie wyjdzie ci to na zdrowie.
I'm aware of your propensity for violence. Halcyon is a bloodier place because of you. I wish you'd simply cooperated with me. You're the finest marksman in Halcyon. You could have been my gun.
Pokaż, co potrafisz, psychopatko.
If you insist. This prison is equipped with an automechanical warden. I've had it programmed to eliminate you on sight and rinse your remains down a drain. And don't worry. I will inform Dr. Wells that you died heroically or something.
Co to jest za robot? Dobra, którędy tu się schodzi? Otwierać! Dawaj, Maksiu! Okej. Ta muzyka, te du, przypomina mi muzykę Strona, tego najnowszego. Trochę. Podkład mi przypomina się. Du. O właśnie. Du. To mi się przypomina. O, jest! Czekaj, co?
Get me out of here!
Ona padła na one shota? Ja myślałem, że jakaś walka będzie na szczycie.
You don't know how glad I am to see you. You did the right thing. Akande was a monster. Her death was much deserved and long overdue. And you lunatic, you broke into the board's own fortress just to rescue one doddering old man. You are absolutely out of your mind. And I can't begin to thank you enough.
Finas, przecież wiesz, że nie pozwolę cię skrzywdzić.
I know,
Ja
my
cię
friend,
krzywdzę.
I know. And now it's finally over. The board's finished. It's only a matter of time before the entire system slips from their grasp. You've broken the board's stranglehold on this colony, and you saved my life. But there's still so much we have yet to accomplish. You and I are going to have to work harder than ever to save Halcyon. I'm afraid the situation is far worse than any of us ever.
Finas, naprawdę nie mam nastroju na twoje dramaty.
Theatrics. Merciful law, I wish I were exaggerating. Earth has gone dark. We haven't received a single message in 3 years. There's been no communication, no signals, nothing. 2 years ago, the Earth's Directorate's frigate disappeared on their way back to Earth. We don't know what they discovered when they arrived, or if they arrived at all.
Uh-oh.
Earth is only an idea to us. But that idea is the bedrock the colony is built upon. If people were to find out it's gone dark, the shock could be too much to bear.
I don't want to imagine what'll happen once news gets out. Let's just keep this between us for now.
You mean we're all alone out here?
No.
Really alone?
I'm afraid so, Miss Holcomb. Halcyon is the only home we have left. Returning to Earth is no longer an option. We're in serious trouble, my friend. Do you know what this means for Halcyon? We can't rely on Earth
Czyli
for support anymore.
The Outer Worlds 2 prawdopodobnie będzie siedziała na Ziemi. Będziemy lecieć na Ziemię i odkrywać, co się stało.
Yes, you're right. The road is long, and we haven't a moment to waste. We must begin the revival process immediately.
Prawdopodobnie
starting with
snuje
the
domysły,
brightest
co nie?
minds. And then we're going to fix this damn colony, one problem at a time. We're going to need a leader, and I can't imagine a better person for the job than you. What do you say, old friend? Will you help us?
Sama pokieruje tą klonię, przeniosący stoi po mojej stronie.
The chairman? I don't know why you let that heartless creature live, but I'll have to trust your judgment. When I revived you, I thought we were going to save this colony all by ourselves, but I was wrong. We can't save Halcyon on our own. We're all going to have to pull together, somehow. We are not a colony anymore. Our last connection to Earth has been severed. I don't know if we'll survive, but we're going to have to try our best.
No, jego wpływy mogą się przydać właśnie, no. The Outer
The
Worlds.
OSI teaches that everything in the universe happens according to the grand plan. But the stranger that arrived in Halcyon was an unplanned variable. From the moment he landed in Emerald Vale, his actions altered the course of history. The events on Tartarus brought about the end of the board's authority. But the board's mistakes would haunt the colony for decades to come. The damage they left behind would require the work of a generation to repair. Dr. Phineas Wells began reviving a handful of the Hope's colonists. Engineers, scientists, technicians, and intellectuals.
Cześć, Tabu.
They were among the brightest minds the Earth had ever sent out into the stars. The Hope scientists and engineers woke up in a colony descending headlong into total collapse. With no way to return to Earth, they had no choice but to band together and devote themselves to the cause of saving Halcyon. The people of Halcyon were nothing if not hardy. In the absence of the board's authority, many of the colony's settlements banded together with a single purpose in mind: survival. Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attrition and starvation, but most of them found a way to carry on. In the years to come, Halcyon was forced to reckon with its newfound freedom. The board was gone, and for better or worse, the colony was responsible for its own destiny. Sanjar's civil liberties and worker-centric policies were slow to catch on with the other corporations. But as Halcyon began its long, arduous journey toward recovery, many of Terra 2's smaller townships started adopting MSI's alternative corporate structure, and eventually became entirely self-sufficient. In the coming years, many of these townships managed to eke by, where otherwise they might have starved. Consumed by paranoia, Lilia Hagen took Sublight Salvage in a controversial direction, openly accusing board officials of an extraterrestrial conspiracy. One day, an accident at the Groundbreaker's docking bay silenced her forever. Time would tell if her replacement could keep the Sublight family together. Adelaide McDevitt replaced Reed Thompson as the leader of Edgewater. She and her followers transformed Edgewater in their image. Anyone loyal to Reed was pressured into leaving town, and those who stayed behind adapted to her way of life. Adelaide transformed the old cannery into a new garden. The nearby Edgewater Cemetery provided a convenient source of fertilizer. As for Reed Thompson, it was said that he lasted exactly 2 days outside the walls of Edgewater. Years later, a marauder was found in possession of his hat. Junlei Tennyson fought to protect the Groundbreaker's independence. While the board's influence faded, mechanical difficulties forced her to rely on parts that only corporations could provide. The cost was high, and time would tell if Junlei could balance the work with her aspirations for a better future. The rediscovery of the hope and the abandonment of the lifetime employment program forced Byzantium to come to terms with some uncomfortable realities about the state of Halcyon. While Byzantines were reluctant to surrender the luxuries they'd grown accustomed to, the board's diminished authority gave them little choice in the matter. Nearly everyone had to learn to make do with less. Some even had to get jobs.
Niektórzy musieli znaleźć pracę. Były to zaiste mroczne
Even
czasy.
the Gorgon asteroid, though a distant enigma to most of Halcyon, felt the aftershocks of your actions. Olivia and Minnie Ambrose worked together to cure the marauders Adrena Time had created. Through their partnership as scientist and administrator, they discovered the harmony that had eluded them as mother and daughter. And through years of patience and effort, they discovered the means to wean Halcyon
Udało
from the
się.
scourge of Adrena Time. Their work eventually allowed Wells and his scientists to treat many of Halcyon's marauders. As their addiction waned, the colonists who had lived for so long under the thrall of Adrena Time returned to their communities and loved ones, and joined in the effort to save Halcyon. In spite of everything, the Gorgon asteroid remained a sobering reminder of the potential for progress and disaster in humanity's most ambitious efforts. The Rizzo's company in Halcyon dissolved after the collapse of the board. Needless to say, the launch of Spectrum Brown was indefinitely delayed. A stockpile of Spectrum Brown remains buried deep beneath the ruins of the old distillery, abandoned to time and attrition. With the dissolution of the board, Ruth Bellamy found herself without the two constants in her life: Byzantine culture and her sister Belinda. In the face of this new reality, she struggled to find a direction for her life. The colony had moved on from Halcyon Helen, and would require new heroes in the years to come. And so Ruth Bellamy decided it was time to exit stage left. She quietly disappeared from public view. The dissolution of the board did not mean the dissolution of the ambitions of Cedric Kincannon, the charismatic leader of Sublight Underground. Cedric offered slugs transportation services to the newly thawed colonists and set to work ferrying resources and food wherever they were most needed. For better or worse, slug headgear became fashionable in the following years. As the board began to disintegrate, Spencer Woolrich found himself at a crossroads. Cling to what little stardom remained to him, or help usher Halcyon into its new future. To the surprise of many, perhaps himself most of all, Spencer chose the latter option. Having learned a variety of different skills in the many different roles played throughout his lengthy career, Spencer founded a radio serial dedicated to staying alive despite the odds. His subjects included how to survive violent encounters with only grazing wounds, dispense pithy one-liners for tense scenarios, and, of course, how to look good doing both. After a brief attempt at dating Helen as one person rather than two, which both Bertie and Helen found too strange, Bertie struck out on his own to try his hand at raising woolly cows. Many of his former Rangers teammates soon followed, accompanied by the woolly cow the team had originally plied with alcohol. The dairy farm thrived under Bertie's leadership and care. The Dairy Rangers privately believed that the woolly cows softened Bertie's temper considerably. Although the only one brave enough to say this to his
Znalazł swoje
face
powołanie.
was promptly
Swoją
headbutted.
łazę, gościu.
Due to the board's dissolution, many of the Prophet's old customers no longer found quite the same value in productivity seminars that they once had. With her business drying up, the Prophet chose to take her followers down a new path. Months later, salvagers on Eridanos found clues leading them to a seemingly abandoned bunker out in the wilderness. Inside, they discovered horribly mangled corpses, sacrificed to a blood-scrawled portrait of a sprat-headed deity. The Prophet was not among the bodies. Life in Halcyon was sobering for Felix Millstone. The grand revolution he dreamed of never came. There was no great awakening for the colony, no celebrations in the streets. There was only the hard, desperate work of trying to repair a broken colony. Felix never had a head for numbers, but if there was labor to be done, he was there to help. Eventually, Felix realized that the work of a revolution was done with two hands. As much as he enjoyed his adventures aboard the Unreliable, the vicar, known as Max, eventually decided that it was time to move on, to live out the life he had sought so long to create. He knew there were many in the colony who carried burdens much worse than the ones he had struggled with, and he devoted himself to easing their suffering wherever he could. He only ever took up arms again to defend the defenseless. Unshackled from a lifetime of striving and fighting the universe and himself, Vicar Maximilian de Soto was finally at peace. Though Parvati eventually grew comfortable aboard the Unreliable, she never quite came out of her shell. She seemed to prefer the company of Ada to the crew, and she could often be found neck-deep in cables and grease, telling Ada funny stories from her childhood. While the colony fell into chaos, she found an island of relative peace with Ada, and they formed an unusual bond. She decided to remain aboard the Unreliable permanently as its chief and sole engineer. As hard as she tried to drink them away, Nyoka's memories eventually overcame her. Traveling with the crew served as a constant reminder of the family she'd lost, and so she eventually returned to Monarch to get back to what she found most comfortable.
To jest chyba ta postać, której my nie mieliśmy w tym
and the far end of a trail.
w drużynie,
Few have seen her since.
którą mogliśmy mieć, ale
Travelers often swear they hear her and her machine gun in the night, screaming swears and spitting bullets. The SAM unit that accompanied you spread awareness of the product line's superior sanitation and maintenance capabilities across what was left of the colony. This led to a boost in SAM unit sales. Did you know that SAM units are the longest-lasting, toughest-acting cleaning solution in Halcyon? Minister Clark was released from house arrest, and his contact with you gave him a sense of renewed purpose and vigor. Once it became clear that no help would be coming from Earth, he threw his considerable efforts and talents into helping Halcyon manage the crisis before it.
dobrze, że go zatrzymaliśmy przy
As
życiu.
for Dr. Phineas Wells, he spent his remaining years in his orbital lab. Though he was always haunted by the failures of his past, he was determined to make things right by building toward the future. The revival project was hard and painful work, but in the end, despite limited resources, over half the Hope's colonists were successfully revived. Even after Wells passed away, the Hope scientists and engineers worked night and day to pull Halcyon from the brink of collapse. Their efforts continue to this day, which may be reason enough for optimism. Dr. Wells laid the groundwork for the project to save the colony, but he would never live to see the fruits of his labor. He passed away a few years later. His work was carried on by the scientists and engineers he revived. Life will never be the same in Halcyon. It is widely agreed that the colony has a chance of stabilizing within a generation, owing to the hard work and determination of the surviving colonists. Recovery is a distant goal, and the path is long and uncertain. But the people of Halcyon carry on, determined as ever. And what about you, the unplanned variable in the history of Halcyon? You brought an end to the riot on Tartarus and partnered with Chairman Rockwell to run the colony together. As Halcyon looked toward the future, you remained a constant presence in the colony's administration. You were never weighed down by bureaucracy, and you never had to dirty your hands with politics. You had people who did that for you. By your influence, Halcyon survived the turbulent years that were to follow. No one knows what's happened to Earth, and no one knows what the future has in store for Halcyon. All we know for certain is this: the name of the Unreliable and that of its intrepid captain will remain the subject of countless stories for years to come.
Powiem, bardzo mi się gra podobała. Szkoda, że tak szybko się skończyła. Spodziewałem się, że jeszcze będziemy mieli coś do zrobienia. Tutaj po prostu puf, koniec. Ale bardzo mi się podobała. Cieszę się, że w końcu przeszedłem tą grę. Super.